In this video, we're going to talk about how to solve multi-step equations. So solving multi-step equations is going to require us to take everything that we have learned so far and put it all together. So everything we've been talking about with the distributive property, combining like terms, opposite operations, isolating the variable, all of this is going to come together when we work on solving multi-step equations. So how do we solve multi-step equations? So you're going to start off using the distributive property to simplify any expressions that you have in your equation. Then we're going to combine like terms. Then we're going to work on isolating the variable. We're going to start off by adding and subtracting, and then we're going to multiply or divide. So here's the order of steps: distribute, combine, add or subtract, then multiply or divide. Remember that our property of equality, so if we're adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing a number, we have to do the same thing to both sides of our equation. We don't want to change the meaning of our equation, we just want to solve and find the value of the variable. So anything we do on one side of the equation must be repeated on the other side of the equation as well. So let's try solving this equation. 4 times 2x plus 3 equals negative 20. So we're going to start off with the distributive property. So I'm going to distribute this 4 to whatever's within that parentheses. So that gives me 4 times 2x plus 4 times 3. And that equals negative 20. So 4 times 2x is going to be 8x plus 4 times 3 is 12. So I get that equals negative 20. So now I need to subtract 12 from both sides to isolate the variable. So I'm going to subtract 12. And that gives me 8x, because 12 and minus 12 will cancel. Negative 20 and negative 12, when I combine those, I'll get negative 32. Now I need to divide by 8 to isolate my variable. And so that is going to give me x equals negative 32 divided by 8, which is negative 4. And that is the solution. So now let's try solving 3 times g minus 7 plus g equals 3. So I'm going to start off with a distributive property. I'm going to distribute this 3 to every term that's within the parentheses. So that gives me 3 times g minus 3 times 7. Then I have this plus g at the end. That equals 3. So 3 times g is going to be 3g minus 3 times 7, which is 21. And then I have this plus g. That equals 3. Now my next step is to combine any like terms that I have in my equation. Notice I have this 3g and g term. So I'm going to combine those two terms together. So I have 3g plus g minus 21 equals 3. So remember, in algebra, we usually don't write our coefficients of 1. So this g basically has a coefficient of 1. So when I combine this 3g and this 1g, I get 4g. 4g minus 21 equals 3. So I'm going to add 21 to both sides. And that is going to give me 4g equals 24. Now to isolate this variable, I need to divide both sides by 4. And that is going to leave me with g equals 24 divided by 4, which is 6. Now let's try solving this equation. 6 minus x plus 2 equals 9. Here we have that special situation that we talked about where we're trying to distribute after a subtraction sign. So remember, in these cases, it's easier to rewrite that subtraction as adding the opposite. So I'm going to rewrite this as 6 plus negative x plus 2. That equals 9. So remember, when I write it like that, that negative basically tells me that there's a negative 1 right there that needs to be distributed to every term that's within the parentheses. So I'm going to distribute that negative 1. So I have 6 plus negative 1 times x plus negative 1 times 2 equals 9. So So that gives me 6 plus negative 1 times x is negative x, plus negative 1 times 2 is negative 2, and that equals 9. So now I have all these double signs flowing around. So I have plus negative, remember, which turns into a subtraction sign. So I have 6 minus x minus 2 equals 9. Now I'm going to look to combine any of my like terms. So I have 6 and I have this minus 2 that can combine. So 6 minus 2 minus x equals 9. 6 minus 2 is 4. So I have 4 minus x equals 9. So now I need to work on getting this x by itself. So remember, this 4 is like a positive 4. So to undo that 4 and to move it away from the x, I need to subtract 4 from both sides. So when I do that, the 4's will cancel, and I'll be left with negative x equals 9 minus 4, which is 5. Now it may look like you're done with the problem, but there's one tiny little step that we have to do. This x isn't totally by itself yet, right? There's a negative that's in front of the x. So we need to actually divide everything by negative 1, because that negative tells me there's a negative 1 being multiplied by x. So I need to go ahead and divide everything by negative 1 so that I can really get that x by itself and have my answer, which is x equals negative 5. So you always want to look at your problem and make sure that x is really, really by itself on one side of your equation before you say that you're done. So just in summary, remember that when we solve multi-step equations, we're going to start off by using the distributive property, and we're going to simplify any expressions that we have, and then we're going to combine like terms. Then we're going to use addition or subtraction to isolate the variable, and then we use multiplication or division to isolate the variable and figure out what the value of the variable equals.